Wednesday.
There we go. Wednesday, back in the States.
Back in the States. That's right. You
No,
still haven't gotten on a plane.
No, I haven't. I'm dying to hear about the plane trip and also the future banning of Americans to Europe. Have you heard this?
Yeah, I just saw this. I woke up to that news this morning. I feel kind of horrible, actually, like that Americans are now banned from Europe. But honestly, on the way in, we were
not our
more.
fault.
No, it's not our fault. I have the masks. We respect the mask and doing our part. So yeah, Jim, can you hear me still? There we go. Did you lose me as well? I'm just curious. Something is.
Yeah, we're suffering today. I don't know what the tech's killing us a little bit, but we'll try to keep powering through. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it can, and it's all good. So I'll just keep talking because it's recording on my side, so people will just hear me talk. I mean, what the hell?
Right. Cool.
So on the way in, actually, my dear friend Manish Juneja, who's been actually having these, I think, day 76 on what they think is like a long tail of symptoms of COVID, he asked me the question, which is a whole other discussion on its own. But he asked me the question.
COVID.
I'm not abiding by our own rules, which I guess rules are meant to be broken, right? Yeah. So anyway, he asked me the question, would I be willing to jump on a plane again and just, and my answer was absolutely. But then I thought about it and I said, well, yes, because A, we got upgraded to business class. B, the plane was like a third full, right? So the airports are pretty empty. If the plane was full, if the airports are full, I don't know if I would jump on, right? So it's a little bit, yeah. We made it. We're now self-quarantining again in Clifton, New Jersey. We just went to get our COVID, the testing done, both PCR and antibody at a City MD. So let's see. They say 3 to 5 days, and then hoping to rejoin the girls and my mother-in-law in her house afterwards. So that's my story. Sticking with it.
Yeah, that's it. Good man. So who do we got lined up today?
So I'm gonna drag you over to Anish Shindore. I got to know him a couple of years back through Milland, who is another change agent in this industry. And Anish and I became friends, and I'm going to drag you over. So he is now heading up digital innovation and digital therapeutics at Sanofi. So I'm going to welcome him in. But
cool, man. I'm looking forward to meeting this guy. Let's go for it. Let me try to get my Wi-Fi working.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Hello.
Anish.
Hey.
What's going on?
Welcome to the show. You've made it in the top 10 episodes.
That's right. So there's one part of me that says I'm the 10th, and the other part of me that says I'm the 10th.
Exactly. So Anish, meet Jim. Jim, meet Anish.
Hey Jim, how are you?
Hey Anish, how are you? I've seen you on the social media network.
Yeah,
I've seen that on the interwebs.
I try to say on the down low, but yeah, can't get out of it.
Are you really though trying to stay on the down low? And by the way, we're experiencing some Wi-Fi issues. I think every one of us is today.
Yeah.
Not wife issues, just Wi-Fi.
Yeah. No, a little bit of Wi-Fi.
Yeah, a mix of both.
Mix of both. So you're calling in from, we've got our second guest from Barcelona. Are you in Barcelona?
I am in Barcelona.
Okay.
I had to adjust my background quite a bit so that I can show you guys the blue sky to believe it.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. We've got something similar going on here in Dublin.
Oh my
which is
God.
it's
I can't
a little
believe
bit
that's Dublin.
a little bit unusual. A little bit unusual.
I
So
actually considered going outside to record, but you know, good old New Jersey, it's hot and humid as hell, and I don't like sweating.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It wouldn't be good for the camera to have you sweating all over it. You know, we'll keep it. We'll keep the head with a nice glisten.
that's right.
So
Well,
Anish,
it's good that Eugene is planning to move at the end of summer. If not,
right?
he's going to go red very soon.
Exactly,
Let's
exactly.
crossing
So Anish,
fingers, crossing fingers.
so we're looking for. So I saw your background. So great, big medical pharma background. But do you want to kind of maybe give us a little bit of a proper introduction, since Eugene
I screw it
didn't
up every time.
didn't?
No, it's okay. I actually, my background compared to a lot of other people is quite underwhelming. I've just been quite fortunate to be in good roles, and in at Novartis, I remember they used to call me the troublemaker, and
Okay.
not only by the way I am, it's actually we had like a persona role play kind of a thing within a team meeting, and they had this bowl of chits, and the one that I picked was called Follonero, which in
Okay.
Spanish is troublemaker. And
Okay.
it, I mean, that's what I stuck with. But my background, so look, if you cannot tell by my skin or my accent, I'm from India originally. I've been out
Okay.
of
Great.
India for about 18 years now. Lived in
Yeah.
Atlanta. Don't judge me for that, please. Lived in Paris. Don't judge me for that either. But and then I've been in Barcelona for the last 12 years and
Okay.
living it up completely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
by the way, troublemakers make the world go round.
Right.
Yeah,
So just
yeah,
Right.
FYI.
that's the intention.
And you're accelerating companies. So you're kind of early stage acceleration of companies, or are you working with them a little bit later stage, or where's your kind of sweet spot in digital?
It really depends on it really depends on what we are trying to achieve, right? It would be hard to say that we look into well established companies. There are companies that we look into because, for example, look at rare diseases. In this case, there's not much that actually exists for rare diseases, and that's an area that has been most of the times overlooked and
Yep.
protocolized in a way that a patient would get their treatment, maybe get diagnosed 8 to 13 years after they have their first symptoms, right? So we
Right.
really look at companies who actually fit within 2 or 3 things, right? One is if they have a solution that actually meets the patient needs. Second, do they have the patience and the tolerance to actually work with a big pharma? That's very important. And third, we don't really look into buying in companies at the moment. We've always looked into partnering some of those. So how can we leverage some of those skill sets and help them develop what is important for them as their core business and what is
Yep.
important for our core business? So once we hit that balance, if that is a really fresh company, that's okay. If that's a company that's been existing for 3 or 4 years, that means they have a product developed, that's okay also.
It's funny that the rare disease, that whole, impact of rare diseases on digital healthcare is fascinating to me. I don't know, can you guys hear me? But it is in the sense that you have this, the systems, the health systems pay a tremendous amount of money to treat the condition. The patient volumes are tiny. And so it just plays against any kind of digital health tech play, right? Where it's largely about getting an efficiency and getting volume and reaching people in this kind of novel way. Yet they're the people that could benefit, and there's probably economics there to be able to support them. I think, is there any rare disease digital health play that's kind of, have you heard of either of you?
If I say it, you have to stop recording it. But no,
okay, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
But
then.
I think what is, I think within the digital world, right? What I think is an opportunity that's for all of us to pick is we can start generating data now, or could have starting 2 or 3 years ago, for those patients going into from a diagnostic phase and reverse engineering. Because in the end, even if you are diagnosed and you're on a treatment, there are some symptoms that you can actually go back and see how you can reduce that whole patient journey time, right? So I think data is going to be a big key when you look at rare diseases. But rare diseases, I want to highlight rare diseases, but at the same time, I want to say that it's not that special either, because we are not doing that great of a job when it comes to diabetes either. And this has been a disease that has been existing for decades. Solutions have been out there for decades, but it's only, we are scratching the surface now with some of the digital health solutions with diabetes as well. So lots to figure out. It'll be interesting next 5 to 6 years.
And you're getting, so I think this is official now, I hope. You're getting a little bit, I mean, Sanofi is ginormous. I don't know actually how many employees, but you're getting some little help that looks, especially from the back, looks like a twin of mine, Chris DeLuca. So getting a partner in crime there, troublemaker as well, in a good sense. So
absolutely. I mean, it's early days, right? So he needs to understand the company as well. But I mean, we are just waiting for him to just roll up his sleeves and help us out, and us helping him out as well to get some of these good things going. So that's actually really motivating since he's come in.
Yeah, I think talented bald men in digital healthcare, like our friend here, Eugene and Chris DeLuca, we need more of those.
Oh, absolutely. There are few, right? So I think we should just give them yellow helmets so that we can spot them in crowd.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Very good.
But we kind of skipped over our usual. I think Jim mentioned you're our second guest from Barcelona. We had Francesca on a while back. I don't know. I mean, we've only been doing this for like 10, 11 weeks. But tell us what's actually happening with this shitstorm. What's phase 2, 3? Like what's outside? What's happening? Like just a little bit.
I mean, it's
on a lighter note.
So there's one which is what should happen in phase 3, and there's one which is what happens in phase 3. So in terms of, look, Spain has been one of the strictest countries when it came to confinement in Europe and in the world, right? And I think I really respect the way they actually put some of the measures in. What you see now from a business perspective, right? You go to malls, you go to shops, you get like those sanitizing and everything happens, you get cleaned up. Our gym started, for example, Monday, and they are doing temperature checks right outside the gym. They desanitize your hands, your shoes and stuff like that. They have like special carpets for it. And then it's quite nice the way they've set it up. So from a business perspective and from making sure people are confident about coming back and creating volumes, at least measured volumes, they're doing a good job. But when it comes to like normal life, you see the beaches over here, they're all full. They're all full.
Okay.
Although there is restrictions on the beaches right now. So you can have a certain amount of people that can go. And they're trying to control that, but still the culture is such that people want to be out. So if they are not on the sand, they're actually just queuing up outside. That's where you mess up social distancing anyways, right? So you may get infected on the sand or right outside it. So that's the sad part of it. But in different parts of Barcelona, I've seen different things. So if you go in the city center in Plaza Catalunya, I was shocked to see literally like 10 to 20% people actually wearing masks. The neighborhood where I live, there's about 90% people wearing masks. And I don't know if it's tourists that are not respecting that, or if it's locals who are going into the center and they just forget that we have a crisis that we are dealing with. But it's strange, but I would say it's still in control.
Right. Spain is not open for tourists as of yet. And I think overall EU is July 1st, right? And then of course every country
Spain started a pilot. So starting Sunday, last Sunday, UK is allowed to come in without any quarantine or a 14-day quarantine. Germany was the first country, and it was so funny because the outbreak that happened in Berlin was the very first day when Spain opened this pilot where Germans could actually go to Balearic Islands. And the first flight was that. And now every day, I mean, from my window, I can see the number of flights increasing. We've had none.
Right.
Now you see like 5 or 6 every day, which usually is like every 3 minutes. So they have opened the borders, but we'll see the next. I'm curious. At the same time, I'm a bit anxious what's going to happen in the next 3 weeks when people really start flooding in.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be Americans. We were just discussing before you jumped on.
Oh man, that's scary.
Let's see what happens.
I know. It's funny. I think that like we just opened up our office. Like when we talked earlier in the week, Eugene, like we just opened up our office, and we have a green team and a white team, system. And we're all ready to go. Ireland's been pretty good. But it definitely, I'd say half, like we're doing a survey of the staff. I think half the staff are still very nervous. Like we're going to go to the full office opening next week. You don't have to go to the office, but it's available for you to work out of, Right. So like my own psyche on it is definitely all over the place a little bit, like what about, what's the, how do we
the extrovert in you, Jim, wants to get back out there, but the family man kind of says, hey, stay put.
Yeah, it's kind of chill. It's nice and chill, not to get on a plane.
At Sanofi also, I mean, in the next 2 weeks, we are supposed to open up. And of course, they're doing like gradual opening at the offices. One of the good things that I think they're doing is for people who are volunteering to get the antibody testing done, they can go. Now, a lot of people are, of course, very, they're thinking that why does Sanofi want to get me tested and stuff like that? And I'm like, okay, guys, come on. This is an opportunity for you to get tested. Go and do it. Because you wouldn't, if you go to the hospital in Spain and you ask that, hey, I want to get tested, you won't get tested just because you feel you want to get tested, because it's all reserved. The kits are reserved for the people who actually have COVID or have symptoms.
Got it.
We're just raising the thing.
Cool.
I've screwed up before too, Anish. I completely forgot about
the C word. I forgot.
Yes, the C word. It's
I
all
forgot
good.
my sign.
But actually, I mean, I was going to tie it back in, but it's not really. I was going to say, like, speaking of digital, but we weren't really.
Yeah.
We're talking about blood tests and PCR tests, but I guess there is a digital component. So I actually want to loop back in, because somebody who is driving a lot of the digital therapeutics, there you go, because Jim forgot to make the sign. So now you're responsible.
I have to run to a new Wi-Fi spot.
I will do it.
You're responsible.
Cool.
I could not even keep track of all the digital therapeutics news in the last 2 weeks, between Akili getting both FDA and CE. Congrats to our friends at Kaya Health getting, I think, 28, 29 mil. Big Health, the old Sleepio, which I don't think they want to be called that anymore. And I think there was a few others that I think I just even skipped. Like, Anish, your thoughts, 2 cents
going on?
Or 2 million, I don't know.
We always thought that this would happen, but this would happen somewhere around 2022, 2023. Yeah. So, I mean, the gentle nudge that we've got through the C word has helped quite a lot. And we not only that, but it's amazing the amount of interest that it has increased internally, because being in pharma, big part of our roles is actually internal change management than external impact. And this has given us so much of like muscle and mass to go inside and say, hey guys, let's get ready for the new way of working, right? And it's been great. I think the projections that we had initially, so I think we are expecting about in 2025 the industry is going to be worth like 28, 25 billion. I think that's going to be somewhere around 2022 now. So everything has been rolled back. I like the way FDA has reacted to it. I think we still need to see how Europe is adapting to it. I've been involved in a lot of projects with China. We are seeing some movements over there, especially in some of the provinces, that they are taking much faster lead and adaptation to some of the things. So I mean, I'm just glad to be in this field first. Second, this is going to be really rock solid for the next like 5 to 6 years.
Yeah. The funding environment right now, like, so the funding environment is it's kind of chaotic, right? You got these deals flowing in. We have this regulatory landscape. It's almost, you can't even update your models if you're going out and you're talking to people. It's kind of, in some ways, it's a little, it feels, and then there's like how many telehealth companies are going to be able to absorb, how many, kind of similar looking companies. When do you think we start to see a little bit of a like we had Rob Garber on one of our early podcasts. He says, oh, there's going to be a flight to quality, but there's still, it's kind of broad deal making right now. Like, when does it start to?
It is. I mean, so I think we should start seeing real impact on some of these solutions. So again, some of the prescription-based solutions you'll start seeing impact by mid next year, summer next year. I think you should start really seeing relevant data and insights into it. But for a broad part of it, and the conservative side of me, I think the health tech companies are going to do much more than what pharma will be capable of doing, just because we are slow, we are slow to react. I think this is an opportunity for a health tech company to come forward and say, hey, look what, I'm very agile by nature, by the way we are working. They have to adapt. I guess they have to learn about some of the other requirements that are required, that are for regulation and stuff like that, or at least the safety of their products. If they are covering these 2 points, guess what? They're going to be in such a competing position to negotiate and also to actually acquire market. That's going to be great. So for me, I mean, the only recommendation that I give to health tech companies is, if you can formulate your own business model by taking opportunity of what's available right now, and keep in mind how you can make your product safe, you're in for a very good spike in your business.
And at some point, I mean, this is I'm going to put on my old hat, and I think as there's the FDA regulations, and approvals, as the scaling is coming in for a lot of the DTX companies, as with the the shitstorm that hit us, the loosening, especially around the psychiatric diseases by the FDA. Now there's this, real world data, not evidence, for a lot of these companies that is now being able to be collected and looked at from an evidence perspective, and some of the pricing now being priced. I don't, honestly, if I'm kind of pharma, I would just look at it and just buy it later.
Exactly.
Like, it needs to stand on its own, unless it's a very complementary product, which, I'm still sort of debating if there are enough skills in pharma companies to merge the molecule with a digital solution. It's obviously happening,
and it's all people based, right, Eugene? You've seen this at Bayer as well. If you find the right people who are able to bring that human plus tech together, I mean, you can create magic with that. And that's where I think we have at Sanofi, one of the things that we've been working on is we have a very small team, but a very dedicated team who looks at not just health tech companies, who look at, okay, what's the problem you want to solve, and is it a problem worth solving? You get your self committed to this, you find out the answers for that, and guess what? Everything else just flows with bumps on the road, but it flows, and it really makes sense then. I've seen a lot of companies that invest in tech startups, buy them out, and then guess what happens? Either one of them dies, and usually it's the tech startup that dies. It's just because they are not able to integrate themselves in the big company, right?
Not to get philosophical, but we always have this discussion, and I continuously, right? Because on one side, there's the problem statement, a problem to be solved, unmet need. But on the other side, obviously, technology has been changing over the decades, how we interact with each other, how we do business, and there's the tech push. And I'm actually, Jim, I'm going to point at you, just curious I still remember, and I think we might have discussed this, like you running over to me in London in a Health 2.0, showing me a PDF of this beautifully designed, health beacon device. Did you already have the problem statement then? Or were you like, I think we need this as a tech gadget, and I'm going to create a business around it?
Oh yeah, no, I'm way too old of an entrepreneur to not have the problem statement.
I thought so. I thought so. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, I said to my, I promised my wife we'll have customers before I start a new company. So we, when I thought about this, I mean, I had been working on the same problem for 20 years. Which was, how do you migrate patients from the hospital into the community? I did it as a pharmaceutical executive. And then I launched a patient services company. And then all of a sudden this tech idea came along, and I said, oh man, this is scalable, because scaling services and, and I actually, I mean, I know I kind of enjoy the game of working with pharma. I think there's, they're going to be clumsy, but there's this talented, kind of fairly consistent group of people in terms of how they implement stuff globally. So I always believe that pharma would be a big piece of the digital health solution puzzle. I always thought that. So what I was thinking about, I mean, the problem statement was like, we don't know if people took their medications or not. So we grabbed the sharp spin and we turned it into a patient support tool. And, we called it Health Beacon. So instead of it being a beacon of sickness, all of a sudden it's a beacon of health. Yeah. And we just thought about transforming it. You know what company I was inspired by was Zappos. Was Zappos. Yeah. Was Zappos, where they flipped the customer service agent. Right. The idea that like the person that you're trying to get off the phone is your customer, as a customer service agent. That was kind of my inspiration, but long answer, Eugene.
No, I listen, I love it. And I actually just learned something new that I never even thought about the name Health Beacon, the beacon of health versus beacon of sickness. I love it.
Right. Yeah, it's inspiring. And also you gave people like the devices, like you give people their discretion back. I think probably like you guys, is obsessing over, I think the leverage for these tools is the patient experience. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the challenges that pharma has because of the regulation that sits on top of them, is they have trouble getting at that patient experience, even, with the best intentions in the world. Right. They have a lot of obligations, when they interact with patients that maybe a health tech company doesn't have,
Yeah, I think you said it right. So I always say pharma is a good play for a health tech company. A lot of people challenge that. Why do we need pharma? But it's almost like if you need a stable relationship, you get a horse. Pharma is that horse. Because there are a couple of things that pharma is today. One is their ability to scale from a sales perspective, their ability to fund, and to absorb any turbulences when it comes to regulation and adapting. That a small tech company, yes, they can deal with it, right? They can fight it out. But when you are in a big ship, you don't feel those small waves. You see, right. And that's what pharma is, and that's what I say. Look, I'm not going to defend pharma over here, but it's something. There's within this whole piece, right? There is a big value that it also brings to the table because they've worked out all this regulation.
I'm going to use your ship analogy. So if I'm a young health tech company and I'm on a little tiny boat next to the ship and I'm like rowing away, can I actually latch on and be dragged? Or am I going to go stumble because I ran out of steam and money and everything else? So
we just need to work on some magnetic levitation techniques and that should be fine.
Yeah.
No, but I hear you.
I'm taking notes for that one. Well,
we got to go back to someone who spent their life in Atlanta. What did I get? Atlanta, Paris? Was it in Paris in France?
That's right.
And I'm not sure what your hometown is in India, and you're in Barcelona. Yeah. What was your hometown?
It's a city called Nashik. Okay. I don't associate myself with Bombay or Mumbai. I'm not a big fan of that city. Nashik is the only wine producing city in India. I would not recommend their red wine, but their white wine is quite okay. It's very acceptable. Being honest. Lived over there. I left to US for when I just turned 20, and Atlanta has been a great experience. I was actually quite shocked when I moved to Atlanta, because of the diversity that you find. My uncle managed to scare me a lot about the city because at the time I think the crime rate was quite high in the city, and he's like, oh no, why are you leaving your luxurious life in India? Because I did not have the slumdog millionaire life. I actually came from a decent enough family, so didn't have to do all of that. So there was a lot of change in that piece, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot in US, and I think a big part of my personality today of just like cutting through the bullshit, just being very direct, assertive on things. I think I learned that in US because I was too shy, too humble. One of those Indian dudes who is in their office and he's like, yes, sir. I was never like that. Don't get me wrong. But it you go at a certain age, and if you're open, you shape yourself to actually become and take your personality out. And it was amazing experience.
What's your advice for Eugene? Because Eugene, you're heading to Barcelona, right? Like I'm sure you've given advice offline, but for our viewers, what's your advice to Eugene?
It's very hard to find things that are negative in Barcelona.
Really?
Love
But
it.
the very few things. I would say the only negative part would be when I moved to Barcelona, we had a lot of local people around us. I mean, we didn't have many English speaking people around us. The restaurants used to open that Spanish time that you think of, which is around 8:30 or 9 o'clock. So it was
Right.
very difficult for us to get in. But now when you come in, like you go 4 o'clock and you have one of the best tapas places open, and you can go out, eat. Everybody speaks English. It's growing into, it's not quite a metropolitan yet like Madrid is, but it's getting to that point where there is enough flow of people from outside, at least within Europe coming in, and US, that it's created an environment of itself.
Yeah.
And the Mobile World Congress put Barcelona on the map. I do want to just quickly jump back to Georgia. Just one quick question. Have you had the crocodile meat?
In Florida, you mean? Yes.
Florida,
Georgia is the peach state.
No, because I remember we drove through Savannah as a family a while back, and on the menu was like this crocodile, and I was like, I have to try it, and it was good.
I mean, Savannah is good for strip clubs and crocodile meat as well. Yes.
Okay, good to know. That's going into the show notes
Did
the viewers.
Say something that I need to put like an S sign or something?
Right.
But Savannah is great. I mean, apart from Forrest Gump, actually, there's a lot to see in Savannah.
I think Barcelona. I think Barcelona changes now. Like you've got Anish, you got you there. You know, you got Francesca running the Amaral. Now you got Eugene. I think there's going to be like just a few individuals here are going to stir the place up a little bit. It could become a digital health kind of, maybe it is.
It has already started. Yeah. It already is. And we all are quite connected. I mean, Francesca, her leadership team, there are people. So one of the groups that we created last year at DTX London, it was about 100 of us in total. And we found 5 people that were from Barcelona. And we're like, hey, Barcelona, great. So we should meet up. So we tried to do this kind of an after office kind of a thing. And in the
Celine,
end,
Jessica Scholl, right? Yeah.
So Celine came much later. I think Francesca was there and Noel was there, for example. And we ended up being 20 of us at this happy hour, which I was organizing. That 20 grew to 40, grew to 50. And this is all like informal get together. And the whole topic was, how do we get the Spanish health authorities to actually approve digital health solution? And everybody was so keen on it. So we have people from Roche, Bayer, of course, Annabelle, Eugene knows her very well.
Yeah.
She was there. Annabelle. People from BHH, all these guys, I mean, got together, and it's been amazing.
I cannot wait to join in.
Oh yeah, Eugene is going to stir it up. It's going to be
cool.
Fun.
Well, I'm the timekeeper, I think, Anish. I know, right? This just flew by. We're like, honestly, almost approaching in combined almost 40 minutes, and we did not even review our stats. But I think at this point, it's Jim. We just keep going, right? We just keep going.
I didn't even say my planned jokes over here.
Let's just run through them. Come on.
Go for it.
But
I got the lobster joke. The lobster joke is coming soon.
We need to take cuts of that, right, Jim? You and I were discussing, but it's difficult to. The beauty of this is so unproduced. So I'll say my kind of final to the viewers. Whoever made it till the end of the 35, 38 minutes of whatever we've been doing it. Press the subscribe button on YouTube, because Jim and I are still trying to hit that 1,000, and so we can make some extra scratch, and I don't know, we'll figure out what we do with it, honestly.
Exactly.
I'll send it to the guys, the happy hour crew from here. They're at least 50, so you get it 50.
Look at that. I'm gonna tag some of them in the LinkedIn post, so I'll get the list from you.
Sounds good.
That's great, Anish. Thanks, man.
Guys, it's
good
been
to
a
have
pleasure.
you on. You made it into season 1 and top 10 episodes. So
thank you very much.
Well done.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. And Jim, nice to meet you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, nice to meet you.